Good evening. Smell Test Podcast here with your guy Whiff. Hope you're on your way home there, and or maybe you're already there back at the palace there, and getting ready to have a delicious dinner with your fam there. And maybe watch some YouTube or listen to some music, play with the kids and the pets, what have you there. Go to school if you're going to school at night, whatever it is. I hope you have some relaxation there and it's nice for you. So earlier this morning I was talking about socialism a little bit. I was saying that I kind of saw socialism like an egg, but I thought about that and it's actually not like right there. What I see socialism is more like a balloon, not like it's a balloon literally, but or like it's like a concept of a balloon, but it's this idea here that a balloon is big. When it's blown up, it's big and beautiful and red and what have you, and full and everything, and it's fun. It seems like fun and, happy. Balloons are happy things, right? So most people, they're happy things, eh? So you got your balloon there, but you don't understand the stress that goes on inside of it there. Because you're stretching it to its limits there. It's rubber to its limits and what have you. So it can look good in one way, but there's internal stress and friction, what have you, going on in the inside there. So I just want to sort of describe what I think of when I think of socialism, how I come to understand it, and feel free to leave your feedback here in the show comments there or on the hotline if you want to, tell me what you think here. But basically, what I see socialism is from what I'm understanding, that it's a place where, like, basically everybody's got the same thing there. Everybody's got access to the same health care and housing and schooling and transportation and what have you. And no one has more than anyone else. And no matter what your position is in society, if you're a doctor or a cashier at a grocery store, you don't make more than the other person, because that makes the society unbalanced there, and you have more than somebody else. And so if you're a person who's got a disability, for example, you have the same housing, the same transportation access, the same education, what have you, as everyone else, just the same as the doctor or whoever else, because everybody's the same in this society and no one has more than anyone else. And the idea is everybody as a bulk decides what goes on in that society there. Through a democracy, right? It's supposed to be that the workers are not exploited by like people who would own anything. So instead it's under the supervision of the state, the country there, so that no workers are being exploited and other people aren't making any more than them. So here's where it kind of gets a little bit prickly there. If you got a country that's supposed to be driven by the people, by the workers there, the people who are actually the members of the society, and there's not supposed to be anybody more powerful than them, well, you already have one problem in the fact that you got someone who's got to lead it. And that person who's going to lead it is going to find ways to make it better for them because they got more power. And power, power corrupts absolutely in one way or another. You got to have someone who's literally got no materialistic or ambition to have power or control to be in that position. And the problem is if you got no one who has appreciation for that power, they're also going to be a horrible negotiator with other countries and what have you. So they're going to have some ambition for power. And if they have ambition for power, they're going to have more than you are, right? They're not going to go, well, I want power and more control to get stuff from other countries, but I don't want it from you guys there. Well, that's ridiculous. Of course you're going to want more control and power. So someone's going to have more power. And what happens when you got one person who has power? He brings somebody else in who he gives some power to over other people. And eventually he got a group of people there, he or she, whatever, that has more power and is assigned other people with more power and more access to money. And you can say, well, we vote those people out. Yeah, well, you can do that over and over and over again. There's still going to be a time when people aren't going to go for an office that's going to require a job that's going to require them to do more work, but they ain't going to get any more money than you for doing it. That'd be like me saying, okay, look, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go down into a coal mine here, and I want you to dig coal there in a mine there 20 feet down where there's oxygen deprivation and there's a chance of you dying. I'm going to give you the same amount as that guy who works over there flipping burgers at the burger joint there. You ain't going to do that. For $10 an hour, you ain't going to do that. Even if I said I was going to pay you $50 an hour, if I'm paying you $50 an hour and the guy over there who's working at the hamburger joint flipping burgers is making $50 an hour, you go to the store, you pay the same amount as that fella does for food, but you got far more danger put into what you're doing there. That don't make no sense. Nobody's going to do that. It's a nice idea, but that's unrealistic, right? People want for things and they're willing to take risks to get stuff. So you got your leader there who's got more power, who's got to have a desire to maintain power by vote or whatever. And so he's going to be trying, because he wants to make sure he stays in power. So he's going to go to other countries representing you, and he's going to be trying to make sure he maintains the power there and get what he can from other countries. But he ain't going to do it just to benefit you. His ultimate goal is to make sure you keep him in that office there, in charge. And if he's going to get in that office and do all that work, he wants something for it there. And he's going to bring people along that he likes, that are his friends or people he thinks who can help him get what he wants, and he's going to give them something for it. So eventually they are getting more than you. You're not on the same level as them. And you shouldn't be. Look, we got to have leaders. We got to have people who are ambitious and you're trying to get to places and get stuff done. It can't all be this pretty fairy tale where everybody's the same. Now, if you're trying to establish this idea of we've got basic universal stuff, like we got basic housing, we got basic transportation and school and healthcare and what have you, you can get that. You might be able to get that from a place somewhere, from a country that wants to do that. But at some point, there's going to be a choice that says those people who have more influence here are going to have access to different kinds of healthcare you're not going to have because of their significance in the society there. That's just going to happen because ain't nobody who's one to be in, let's say you got an older person there. You got your grandma there, right? Well, for a country, if it comes down to your grandma's gonna get care for her cancer, and you guys have decided as a country, I don't want anybody over 80 to get treatment for cancer because it's too much of a financial strain on it, and we've decided that at 80, you've had a full life, and we don't want to burden the healthcare system here, so we're going to make you comfortable. But if you got a leader there who's almost 80 years old, who's been real good for your country, for your economic situation there, you're going to want them to get health care. Well, now you're violating your own rules. You're making exceptions there for the few, but not for the many. So it's not really realistic to say you could have a perfect society where everything is even, Steven. That's why it's called a utopia. But utopias are like a fantasy. It's kind of like you go watch an adult film there and everything is perfect. You know, the pizza girl shows up and she wears a bikini instead of a uniform. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. That's a dream. That ain't realistic here. What happens is that you got some of these socialist countries that got capitalistic tendencies. And they got universal health care and they got good education and what have you. But what happens is there's a limitation to a degree on how much their capitalism advances. And at some point, a lot of them will go outside of that country, the ones who want to make money and who are ambitious, and they'll go other places because they want to make more money. And there's a limited cap on how far they can get in that socialist country there you got. So it's a nice idea, but it's a balloon. It's pretty, but it's not practical. Like, you don't use that every day. You know what I mean? Like, you use that on special occasions. We're all here. We're celebrating who you are. We're all comrades and whatever, friends. But when it comes down to you trying to live your life and take care of your family and what have you, you're going to do your best to get your family what they need. And it doesn't matter what the other people get as long as you get it. Because you always want to put your family first and take care of your people. And even if if they have some kind of rule and it's your wife that gets the cancer and they decide, well, you know, because of this and that, your wife doesn't get the treatment. And you go, but she's my wife. I love her so much. I want to keep her around. Well, that's the rules of our society here. Then you just have to go, well, I guess it's the rule of our society, honey. I guess you're going to die. What happens then? You go outside of that socialist their country looking for something else. So obviously that society wasn't enough for you because you're trying to step out to go get health care somewhere else. And that's what happens here in the United States. People come here for health care because it's got more people who are more ambitious because they know they can make more money doing it. Money is not evil. It's what you do with money that's evil. And we got a whole situation here. Well, if everybody's getting paid the same amount, people think we don't need to give back because we're all getting the same amount. But generosity changes because they're like, well, I don't want anybody to be any more than me, so I'm not going to give any more money. I'm not going to give money. How do I know that this other person ain't giving more money? Well, your whole society is set up that nobody makes more money than anybody else, so what makes you think anybody's got anything to donate? What makes you think your society is designed where you got any more to donate than anybody else? I mean, the whole point of your society being, you know, balanced is it so nobody has to want for anything. But what if somebody else wants for something for whatever reason? You're going to say that's not the way it works? And how long does your society stay that way? What happens if you got people wanting to come into your country there that's got 600,000 people and they know they get universal health care? They get, you know, free housing, they get transportation, schooling, and what have you. And they all want to come live in your country. Well, eventually what's going to happen, you could have 600,000 people, and before you know it, you got 2 million people. So the choice of things that happen is either you got to start making less so that everybody can have the same amount to balance out your economy, or the value of your money gets less because of overbearing it. You got too much of the same amount, so they're like, just like a dollar bill. The more money the United States prints, the less the dollar becomes worth in other parts of the world there, right? Because it's just like anything else. You got a Babe Ruth card there. Well, if you got one of them, it might be worth $1 million. You got 70,000 of them, it might not be worth $1 million anymore. Well, I know it's not worth $1 million anymore. So you got to understand that ideal societies are great in concept, but they're not realistic in actual practical application there. But it's a pretty idea. But if you really want to help people, if you really want to be one of those people there who helps other people, you could always go down there. You could say, all right, I'm going to go make $1 million a year, and then I'm going to go and share that with the people in my neighborhood. You could do that, but you're not going to. You haven't seen Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos doing that, have you? Have you seen them going out there and giving off their money to all these people? No. Michael Bloomberg, that guy is supposed to be worth, the guy who used to be our mayor over here, that guy's supposed to be worth like $50 billion. Is he spreading out his money to make it even where everybody's got the same amount? No, sir, he's not. He gives his money to his political people and whatever he's doing there. But he ain't giving away his money to balance out the scales with other people. He could have given it to everybody in New York. I would have taken a chunk of it. He's passing it out to even us out, but people are not responsible with money on a natural basis. People blow money. You ever hear about those people who win the lottery and they get broke within a couple of years? There are some people who just are more responsible with it, and I would rather have the people who are more responsible with money making donations to worthwhile causes to help people, which it doesn't happen enough, but I would rather have that than expecting everybody is going to be of the same mentality to do that or be responsible enough in a society to do that, because that's just not realistic. Everybody's different, right? So keep dreaming about a, utopian society. It's really a balloon. It don't exist, and it can't exist long term. Capitalism has enough trouble as it is surviving because everybody thinks it's evil. Capitalism isn't evil. People are flawed. And you can choose to be a better kind of person. If you don't like people who you think are selling stuff here, who are making lots of money, if you don't like it, then the whole society as a whole could go, we're not buying from them anymore. One by one, you could walk away from them and they don't make that kind of money because you don't think they're responsible. You could go to someone who you think is responsible. But that's not the way it works. How many times do you keep going to a place even though you keep saying that guy's a bad guy or that lady's a bad lady? But you still go shopping there, don't you? And why? You go, well, I guess I'm not going to make that big of a difference. Well, you don't make a big difference, then what's the point? You have no character there. You have no decision ability to say, you know what? I'm gonna be the difference here. And yeah, you can decide that, but you can't control all the other people. And that's why socialism don't work there. Because you gotta have everybody on the same page, and ain't nobody gotta have ambition to want more than anybody else, and it's human nature to want more. That's the law of survival. Gather what you can. Prepare. Stay ahead of the game there. So just think about that there. I mean, I know people like this idea of everybody getting along and that whole Star Trek thing there. I think Star Trek's entertaining. I think it's also a fairy tale. You got a planet with 7.5 billion people on it, and you think all of a sudden they're all gonna just go, hey, you know what? Let's all live the exact same way. We'll all have the exact same amount. And you go, well, they can't do it alone, but we'll put the right leaders in place. And so you think all those leaders ain't going to have a reason to try and maintain their power? You don't think that's going to corrupt them when they know they got all that power? Come on, don't be naive here. You got bigger brains than that. Use the brains. God gave you a brain for a reason there. And if you don't believe there's a God, well, then I guess, I can't help you there. I don't think anybody can. Because you got to have a belief in something greater than yourself. And if you think all you is you, and that you're the best that there is that you can ever do, and that there's nothing to aspire to, all you have is this place and this moment and this time, well, I guess you better be doing everything you can to make this count. Because apparently it's all you got, and you keep dying a little second at a time there. You're dying. Are you making it worthwhile? Are you sitting there talking about how everybody needs to be equal, but you're doing nothing about it? Stop living in fantasy land. Go do something for people. And don't worry if other people are doing it. You can't live for other people. You gotta live for you and yours. You know what I'm saying? Get out there and take some responsibility. If you want to change the world, you start with you. You don't line everybody else up and say, okay, here's how we're gonna change the world. You start with you. Stop looking for balloons and looking for pretty balloons and streamers or what have you. Get out there and put your booty to work there. And if you want to give away all the money you make as a result of it, great, but I bet you something right here and right now, and I'd be rich if I did it. You ain't going to give away all the money you make. Because at some point you're going to go, man, I worked for this. Why do I have to give it to other people who didn't do nothing for it? That's okay. You don't have to. You're not required to. You could still be good for the world without giving away everything you make. You have ambition for a reason. Everybody wants something. Even if you're one of these new age types that likes to they say, well, I want to heal humanity. You're still getting something from it. Don't pretend you're not getting something from it. You're getting something for yourself, because if you're charging them, you're getting something for it. Well, I just have to have currency to survive. Well, what's more important, the currency or the helping the people? So that means if everybody comes to you and says, I want to be helped with my metaphysical self or what have you, you should say, well, my calling is to do that. And then I'm going to do that instead of taking the money because I just want to help people. Well, that's fine. If you're living on the street, you live on the street. You made that decision there. So just don't be afraid of going out and get what you want, and stop worrying about convincing everybody else to do it the way you want them to do it. Can't control the world. That's why socialism is a big stinkeroo and don't pass the smell test here. It just don't pass the smell test. I'm sorry. It's a great idea of utopia. But you don't get utopia on Earth. That ain't the way it works. There's always going to be a hunger for power. A control over other people. Look at it. If you want everybody else to change, you want control over other people. So what makes you think that if you give power to someone else to lead a country, they ain't gonna want control over other people too, including you? Right? All right. I think I talked about that enough. You got it or you don't got it. And I hope you at least got a little something from that. You go home, or probably already there. Have yourself a beautiful night. Hug and kiss on those you love there, and make the moments count and laugh a lot. Oh wait, before we go there, don't forget to leave your comments there below and on the show notes thing there, whatever that is there, wherever you're at on the iTunes or what have you. And you can call the show hotline there and leave a voicemail if you want to. Leave that on the 505-585-0500. I'm sorry, I'm saying it a little wrong there. 505-585-0500. And you have a good night there, all right? And as always, God bless you.